are back. Welcome back to the Nick Hall Comedy Podcast. I am your host, Nick Hall, joined as always by
Josh Griffey.
Hey, we got we do have a big week this week.
Big week.
What a news cycle it has been. First things first, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you give us a rating and a review. That helps us out a ton, and we appreciate it. If you want some amazing Coach Kent Murphy gear for the holidays coming up, it's just CoachKentMurphy.com.
Mm-hmm.
We got all kinds of good shit on there. All kinds of good shit on there. If you want to follow us on social, everything is at Coach Kent Murphy. None of that fake shit. Stop following those chodes.
Guys, help us destroy the fakes, man.
We got one shut down. I'm pretty proud of it. That
Yeah.
was thanks to some help from you guys reporting constantly. I love it. Fuck them.
We're coming for the rest of you bitches, too.
We're coming for our check marks.
You guys are Mason Rudolph, and our podcast is The Helmet.
We are Myles Garrett. We might as well. Yeah, let's dive in.
It's insane when all the stories happen in 1 week, and it's like, couldn't we just do like 2 of these every week?
Yeah, we're going to have to like Joe Rogan this and go for 4 hours today, I think.
Cool, I already took my DMT. I'm ready.
God, I wish I was as good as Joe Rogan at podcasting. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, Myles Garrett tried to kill Mason Rudolph.
Right.
My only beef with this whole story.
I have to do a disclaimer, too. I am a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
But I feel like all of my opinions on this will be 100% objective. So just before you guys start commenting.
So we all saw what happened. Myles Garrett swung a helmet at Mason Rudolph, hit him in the head.
He actually connected.
Luckily, he didn't get him with the crown of the helmet, or he might be dead, literally. Mark Pouncey stomped on Garrett's head.
Yeah.
He went straight hood on him and just, you don't start no shit, won't be no shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's my quarterback.
But in all of this, so Garrett gets, he's done for the foreseeable future.
He'll be done for at least the season, which is 6 games.
Yeah, and then he's got to go in front of a reinstatement board after the season.
Yeah.
Pouncey got 3 games, and then Okunchobi, I think is his name, got 1 game. How in the fuck did Mason Rudolph not get... He was trying to rip Myles Garrett's helmet off and started this whole fucking thing.
There are so many...
He should have at least got some kind of suspension.
There are so many bad takes in this, first off.
Right.
This has been one of those weekends on sports where you're like, I'm just so glad Twitter exists because everyone's putting their worst thoughts in print right across all these stories.
It's been good.
The Mason Rudolph one, though, let's start with the fact that there's 8 seconds left in the game.
I understand.
That you clearly won.
Understood.
Right? They've been on him all night. He's thrown 4 interceptions.
Understood.
He's unmasked him. He took his own helmet off on the prospects of him ever being a starting quarterback, right?
Well, yeah.
So he'd already done that to himself. So
right.
The guy has some rightful frustration. Garrett brings him down and is just wrestling him after the whistle, right?
Sure.
And just like everything else in this story, it's kind of like with politics, right? What if Obama did it? What if this were Tom Brady? Imagine all of this through that lens, right?
Understood.
And not shitty Mason
not.
Rudolph.
But it's
so
not.
Garrett is wrestling him on the ground, and it just laying there, he starts trying to fight back, and his hand gets by the helmet.
No, he was trying to rip the helmet off. His hand didn't get by the helmet.
Well, first
he
off,
was trying to rip Myles Garrett's helmet off.
First off,
there's no 2 ways about
even
that.
if you say that's the fact, right?
It is the fact.
Which
Watch
I don't know
yeah.
that's the fact.
If
I
you
think
watch,
he's trying to push a giant man off of him off the ground.
He's trying to rip the helmet off. He's got like both hands on it.
Agree
pulling.
to disagree, but
Well,
here's the point. Myles Garrett is not missing the rest of the season because he pulled someone's helmet off.
I agree.
That is not a crime.
I'm not saying Rudolph should
Right?
be suspended for the rest, but he should have gotten some punishment. Yes, he should.
No.
He started the whole fucking thing.
No one has ever been thrown out of a game for getting chest to chest and yelling and screaming and pushing.
He didn't. He was trying to rip his helmet off on the ground.
What do you think
He
happens?
started that. That's why Garrett ripped his helmet off.
He pulls Garrett's helmet off. That's worth a game to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a starting quarterback, that's worth a game.
Absolutely.
No, even Myles Garrett shouldn't have gotten a game until he fucking hit him with the helmet. That's the crime.
The
crime is not the pulling on people's helmet. Do you know what they have? That's called a flag. Hands to the face, right? Face mask.
You make an interesting point because if this were Tom Brady,
Garrett
never plays again. No questions asked.
They'll be making a movie 4 years from now where Jamie Foxx is playing Myles Garrett on death row if this were Tom Brady.
So then the other side of this story,
right,
is Rudolph's agent talking about pursuing legal action and seeing what avenues he has. And I've seen like kind of the division there. Like people are like, well, it's part of the sport. Like it's football. Like okay, but if he connects with him with the crown of that helmet,
right?
Like he could die. He could be a vegetable. He could die.
Well, here's the bad take on this. Right? Is well, look, he still kept fighting. It wasn't that bad. Okay, so if I try to stab you,
That's assault.
right? If I walk up to you and I'm like, I have a knife and I'm mad at you, and I try to stab you, but let's say you have your cell phone in your breast pocket and I only break your iPhone, you're not just like, let bygones be bygones. This is totally...
Well,
the result is not how you determine this, right?
I agree.
He swung, and not only that, he did still hit him.
I agree.
Right? If the helmet had been flipped the other way, and he had hit him right in the bridge of the eyebrow nose area...
Then two people never play again.
Yeah.
Garrett and Rudolph because he's dead.
I mean, in all fairness, this is going to be the meanest thing I've ever said. I think there are some Steeler fans that are like, no. Okay. But the other thing, too...
Turn the helmet around!
Yeah, right. Rudolph, take one for the team and just dive, right?
Lean into it, Dorn!
Because, if Rudolph dives, that saves us from having to watch him throw 4 interceptions every week. It can put to myth this rest that they're like, are the Steelers just moving forward with Rudolph? No, we're not.
No. That's not even a thought in anyone in the front office's head.
But he also he just got back from a massive concussion like 2 games ago.
Right.
So there's so many bad takes, right? And I don't like, this is the thing. I honestly like him pursuing legal charges, because even if I don't think Garrett should go to jail, right?
Right.
The defense I hate is, well, he just lost his temper. Yeah, you know what? Crime of passion. That's a lot of crimes. A lot of crimes are, some guy's fucking my wife, and you murder him, and that's a crime.
Well,
right?
that's the thing. It's assault with a deadly weapon. I mean, it is.
Well, you can YouTube some guy he's like, I'll just hit a chair, like a wooden chair with the helmet.
Right.
He fucking split that chair in half.
Right, but the argument against that I've heard, that I've seen, that I don't agree with, but they're like, well, it's football. They're good at sports. You can't be charged with assault. Like, yeah, you can. Like you said, if he brings a knife out and stabs him, you can't be like, oh, it's football. It's just a football fight.
Well, also people,
that's assault with a deadly weapon.
Well,
it's you know what I mean? It's not football at that point.
Also, I feel like I've watched plenty of football, and I rarely see the play where it's take your helmets off and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah,
that's not a football play.
Now I've seen it 100 times.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, well, what about Albert Haynesworth? I'm like, yeah, Albert Haynesworth should have gone to jail for putting his fat body on top of a cleat on top of a man's face. Just because the NFL hadn't yet had to give a shit about player safety doesn't mean that Albert Haynesworth was right.
Right.
Albert Haynesworth could have crippled that guy, right?
Right.
If your fat body and cleats puncture through his eyes and face,
right,
that's bullshit.
But then you have to think about...
I hate all the arguments on it. It's just nonsense.
Well, then you have to think about this, though, because there's no real legal precedent set for this.
Sure.
For like assault in a sports... like it's
yeah.
It may have
happened
happened
thing
before.
I've ever seen is, remember when Rudy Tomjanovich got laid the fuck out and his
Kermit
face
Washington,
his face just got smashed.
Smoked his ass, yeah.
I was like, that should have been a crime.
Right.
Like, I think there were actually off the court charges.
Here's the point I'm making is, so this makes it to court. Is a judge going to set that legal precedent that this is assault, right?
A judge in Pittsburgh will.
Well, yeah, but only for the fact that, okay, if they open that floodgate, then like every time somebody gets punched and shit like that, then you're potentially going to court every week in sport. You know what I mean?
No, I mean,
so they've got to find a way to maneuver that to where
Sure.
We can punish this, but we can't open the gates for all of this bullshit.
And I agree, but this is the thing, right? And this is kind of the theme of our whole show, is setting precedents so these things will never happen again.
Right.
I would argue that other football fights are not the same, because when you see guys punching each
They're
other,
not. Yeah, you're right.
That's
They're
not the same as hitting you with the helmet. And all these tough guys are like, "Oh, it's part of the game. Mason Rudolph is fine." All right, I'm not Myles Garrett jacked,
right?
But let me hit you in the fucking head with the helmet,
right?
You know, and you're not even Mason Rudolph jacked. Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I bet after it, you're going to want a suit against me, right? You're going to want me to pay for my crime,
right?
So, do I think, honestly, on just a petty fan level? Yeah, if you get a chance to sue a division rival and their best player, you should do that.
Well,
if Mason Rudolph can somehow
and you know what? Fuck
punish
him.
our division
Fuck
rival.
them, it's the Browns.
Yeah, it's our division rival. It's the Browns. I mean, honestly, the Browns are mad because they realize they suck, right? They got 4 interceptions. They scored on the first drive, got 4 interceptions after that, and scored 21 points. Their season's over.
Yeah.
Their locker room's splintering. They have the worst coach in the history of the NFL. But this is their, like, look at how badass we are. And this is the other thing. You can say what you want. Oh, Myles Garrett lost his temper. There were 2 other flagrant penalties earlier in the game where we had 2 of our receivers, Juju and Washington, both went out One of them was just a clear as day earhole shot.
Sure.
That's not even debatable, right? So is it inconceivable in a world where the Browns season is crumbling around them? Freddie Kitchens' job is essentially already over, but he might think he can save it.
It's been over, yeah.
Locker room splintering. They're not going to make the playoffs. That he does what all bad football guys do, and it says, we're going to be tougher. We're just going to out-tough another team of grown-ass NFL. Like, if you think there's NFL players that aren't tough, you're an idiot.
I mean, there's probably a handful, but for the vast majority
I would argue
are tough guys.
Anyone who's made it to the NFL.
Maybe some kickers, and that's probably it. Yeah.
Hey, man, they're still getting attacked by these giants.
Yeah.
They're tougher than all of us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they're still working out 7 days a week.
Yeah. Again, like I said, there's no locker room where they're, practicing like Game of Thrones fight scenes with foam helmets. But I do think it's conceivable that the most penalized team in the league, with the worst coach trying to save his job in their season, says, hey, maybe go that extra mile.
Right.
And this is where the NFL has to fall on it. And I think the fact that the Browns are habitual offenders.
Yeah.
Right? And especially have 3 instances in one game where they just say, to hell with that Will Smith CTE movie and all the Bryant Gumbel porn that we watch every week. And they're just taking people out.
Yeah.
I think that's bigger than the game. And yeah, I think the takes are, oh, football's tough now, this and that. At the end of the day, anyone in the world who got hit with that helmet that wasn't on a football field, there would be legal action.
Absolutely.
I don't think you
without
can say,
question.
Yeah, you can't just say, oh, well, because it was football players, it's okay to do. And I'm with you. The legal precedent will be weird. I don't even think it goes that far.
Right.
But honestly, even if you can stick the Browns in a division rival with a big-ass check they don't want to sign, fuck them. Fuck the Browns. And this is the other thing. This above anything else, if you were on the "but what about Mason Rudolph" trending on Twitter, it just shows how big of fucking losers the Browns are.
Well,
it's an indefensible act that even Baker Mayfield got right. Probably the least mature, dumbest guy who's a quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Even he was like, yeah, not cool.
Well,
and here's the other thing. Think of this, right? Not only if that was Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or a good quarterback. Like, what if Mahomes came back and someone brained him?
Yeah.
That would be it. This would be huge. Because Mason Rudolph sucks, people want to let it slide. Here's the bigger question. Do you think that if that was Hayward wrestling on the ground with Baker, and Baker had such a terrible game, that Baker Mayfield's not going to try to tough guy it up and stand up for himself?
Sure.
Mason Rudolph was just trying to save some face here. He didn't commit a criminal act. Myles Garrett did.
I understand that, but I'm saying if you're gonna, it's like Ogunjobi just shoved him in the back, right? He got a game for that.
He got a game.
He got a game for that.
He got a game because that's a bitch-ass move.
Yeah, but he participated in it. Rudolph participated in it. In fact, he incited it by trying to rip Garrett's helmet off. Like that's where it all started.
That's so dumb.
But he's got to face some punishment for that.
If
they're handing it out to the other guys,
that shit happens constantly.
I don't care.
All games.
If you're handing out those suspensions, then he's got to face the wrath too.
Because again,
he started it. Yes.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
Garrett started it by wrestling him on the ground.
Rudolph was the one that tried to rip his helmet off to start.
Again, he didn't get suspended for the helmet rip. If Garrett, had the helmet in his hand and stopped,
I understand.
There's no suspensions.
I disagree with that.
There's no suspensions if that's 6 seconds left in the game and Garrett's just standing there calmly with the helmet in his hand.
As soon as he had the helmet off, he was suspended.
No.
As soon as he swung
absolutely
it, then it
not.
was, yeah.
You see helmets come off all the time, and there are not suspensions for that. It's the hitting with the helmet. If he just stops, right, when they had him separated, DeCastro had them separated, right? And Rudolph comes up talking shit because he's got to save some face.
Right.
Right?
I get that.
That happens all the time.
And I get Pouncey standing up for his guy. I get that.
Yeah, well, Pouncey has to get suspended too.
Yeah, but he's standing up for his guy. Yeah, I get it.
It's one thing, I'm standing up for my guy. Okay, you still did the act. You were kicking another man in the head.
Yeah, it was great.
Granted, he was lucky enough to still be wearing his fucking helmet.
I loved it.
Yeah, if his helmet had come off and Pouncey kicked him in the head, he would also be gone for the season.
Straight up, yeah.
Yeah,
got him.
I don't know, Otong or whoever it was, the guy that pushed Rudolph.
Ogunjobi, I think is his name.
He should get suspended just because of his stupid thing where he's like, my boy was getting attacked. And I was like, well, that's funny. You didn't run up and start wrestling Marquise Pouncey, who you knew would fuck you up, right? You were like, oh, I'll push this little tiny quarterback. And that's the thing, quarterbacks aren't little. But there's no one on the face of the earth that can make the reasonable argument that Myles Garrett felt intimidated, threatened, and needed to lash out in that way.
Right.
No one thinks in the world Mason Rudolph was about to hit him or fight him or could even come close. Go look up Myles Garrett's Instagram and just give me like a Vegas over-under, right? He would be a 5,000 to 1.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying Rudolph is going to win.
No.
I'm saying his involvement in it, his role in it, at least warrants a fine
It's
or,
the
or
loser
something.
mentality.
If they're handing out punishments for it, then he's got to take something.
I'm a parent, right?
Whether it's a fine
the
or
loser mentality is the same as the kid's mentality, right? Well, they did it first. That doesn't matter.
It does, though.
No one crossed the line until Garrett did.
If
no
you're
one
involved
would,
in it,
no.
and the incident warrants suspensions and stuff, then he's got to take some of it too.
No,
even if it's a fine, he's got to take something.
No, you start the
I think
suspension
that's ignorant
at the
to think
moment
that he should
of the
get
crime.
nothing.
He did nothing wrong that would warrant a suspension in any game by any player.
He did some things that would warrant a fine. You can't try to rip another man's helmet off and not at least get fined.
I mean, that's fine. Okay,
in the NFL.
A small fine.
I'm saying he's got to face some kind of punishment.
And this is the thing. I'll plead ignorance on this. I don't know if there is a fine for pulling someone's helmet
I'm sure
off.
there is. They levy fines for all kinds of shit.
Well, if
in
that's
NFL.
in the books, fine.
Yeah.
What happened is there was a non-issue. That shit was over. Mason Rudolph was going to scream, walk away. Right? If that's the Patriots team, they walk the fuck away because they're well coached and not told, "Hey, go save my job."
They have the fear of God in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Belichick will pull out a gun and just start shooting them on the sideline. All right, fighting.
Yeah, and
I don't know what Belichick's capable of.
Yeah, that guy's actually he's the Myles Garrett of the sidelines. He's a fucking pure maniac.
He rules with an iron fist.
Yeah.
That guy.
No, I think it's such a loser mentality.
It
reminded me of this great quote, right? And it's that the powerful and the stupid share one quality. And it's that they don't alter their opinions based on facts. They alter the facts to fit their opinions.
True.
This is the loserish Browns mentality that they honestly have gone back and they think they had this Zapruder film moment where they can prove that Mason Rudolph deserved to get hit in the fucking head with that helmet.
I agree.
And that the Browns are this clean team after they had already had those 2 penalties earlier. The Browns are a fucking embarrassment to themselves. The city of Cleveland is a fucking giant shithole and a stain on this country. And I'm all for shutting the entire organization
I'm sorry
down.
to the city of Cleveland. I actually had a great time at the All-Star game.
Okay, that one little stadium.
It was I had a great time. The people were great. I
do like the Indians.
You're a mad Steelers fan. I get it. We got to move on though. We got a lot to get to.
It's a crime.
Agreed. It is.
It's an actual
I agree
crime.
with that.
If that happened anywhere else in the universe,
it's 100% a crime. We're in agreement there. We got a lot of we got a lot to get to. We got to move on. Speaking of lawsuits, the Astros. Hey,
that's actually not the lawsuit I thought you were going with. This is good.
That's the theme today, though. It's legal maneuvering, I suppose. I don't know if they have a legal
litigation in sports with Nick and Griff.
An internal investigation. So hopefully you guys saw we put a little Astros video out yesterday.
Iconic swings with Kent Murphy.
Iconic swings, a little jab at the Stros. This is a bombshell.
Yeah.
So this is. So first of all, if you don't know, you live under a rock, but the Astros are being investigated for stealing signs electronically. They essentially had a system where they had a camera in center field or in the outfield filming the catcher signals, which was running to a live feed in the tunnel between the dugout and the clubhouse, where a guy with a video would take the sign, and if it was a fastball, they do nothing. If it's an off-speed pitch, a curveball, slider, changeup, whatever, they hit a trash can a certain number of times to make this bang, and that's what tips the hitter off to what pitch is coming. And if you look at the stats of it, it's pretty alarming.
It's the home-away splits.
The home-away splits are incredible. John Boy, who's one of my favorite YouTubers, I was watching a video he did, and he had a thing up, and it was the Astros were, I think it was the strikeout to walk ratio for the hitters. They were like dead last or second to last in the league for like 6 years in a row or something like that.
The Chris Carter era, we'll call
And then
it.
as soon as 2017 hit, they were first, second, and then first again this year. since this system started.
Yes.
But there's this slew of other old players that are coming out corroborating this story. Mm-hmm. The bombshell that I heard yesterday was that Todman, the assistant GM that they fired for yelling at that reporter about the domestic violence, he's lawyered up, and he's prepared to make statements corroborating this story and bringing the Astros down. The MLB has come out and said that they are considering a punishment that would be unprecedented, unseen in major sports.
Yeah.
In recent, in history. So this is juicy as fuck. I wish the results were already out so we could talk about that.
Well, this is the caveat. If the punishment comes down, we will be doing an emergency pod that day to discuss. But just pontificating a bit on what we know,
right.
It seems almost inconceivable that at this point something will come out that will vindicate them, right?
We hope.
This has happened almost for sure. This punishment is coming, and the cheating was committed.
Right, and the other thing too is the Astros are not the only ones that the Red Sox and the Yankees have both been implicated in different ways. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I like the Yankees third base coach is like, I'm gonna fist fight an Astros coach in rage because that's why they didn't make the World Series. Here's one of the funny what ifs of this whole thing, right? And again, this is kind of the Myles Garrett defense, which is, well, Rudolph didn't really get hurt that bad, so the punishment should be less. I completely disagree. Imagine a world where the Astros win that Game 7. Right? And now I think there's going to be a little softening because it's like, well, they still lost. That's okay. Imagine a world, though, where baseball fans, an already struggling sport to keep its audience, trying to seem relevant. Right. We're already mad about calls, and it's hard to watch bad strike zones. All these things that baseball's facing. Right. And now that you say 2 of our last World Series, we cannot guarantee are not tainted. Right.
One being won by the allegedly tainted team.
Well, that's what I imagine if it wasn't 1, but it was 2. Yeah. Right? Because this year seems almost impossible to deny.
Well, that's the other thing, too. If the Red Sox are implicated in it because they won the World Series, too. Yeah. So, I mean, that could be 2 out of the last 3. Yeah. Potentially.
Yeah, and I mean, it could have been all of the last 3, right? Yeah. Well, so this is the double-edged sword you face, which is, one, the only team I can think of that faced something like this is the Black Sox, right? Yeah. They threw a World Series, and it was catastrophic. But back then, baseball was the biggest sport. Yeah. So this is what we talked about, right? One, it feels like this was inevitable, right? And there's probably some form of this everywhere. There's just too much technology. Absolutely. It's too tempting. But still, it's a violation, and you got caught. But here's the problem with the we're going to throw a punishment that's unprecedented in the history of sports. Right. The only thing I can imagine is like, death penalty? Yeah. Because here's what I was throwing out to you. What if they say, we'll charge the Astros $100 million? Okay. Okay, what's 7 games in the World Series worth? Yeah, exactly. More than $100 million.
Especially if you win and you go and sell all that merchandise. Yeah. Like, you're pulling in way more than that.
Well, that was the other funny caveat is that the 2017 DVD of the Astros championship had footage of the cheating station.
Yeah. the actual, like, the TV. And, like, some guy sitting there like...
he's like, get the TV out of here! It's like trying to run out of the shot.
Black Friday deal. But yeah, that's the interesting thing of it. So stealing signs has gone on since the beginning of time in baseball. You get a guy on second base and they'll watch in, try to decipher what the signals are being put down, and a lot of times they'll just do something on their leg or whatever. It's gamesmanship, and catchers go out of their way to change their signals when they have a runner on second, things like that. So it's a little bit of a gray area anyway, because it's not technically against the rules. It's against the unwritten rules of baseball, but not against like the rules. Now there may be some wording in there where you can't use electronic devices, which may ultimately fuck them. Whatever.
I think that's the problem.
But the moral conundrum is that they've taken it to this other level where they're just like full on cheating. It's not gamesmanship at that point.
Because if it's the players, right? So let's say you have Adam Dunn, who's completely gassed because he's standing on second, right? And he's just like, God, I wish I had a cheeseburger.
How the hell did I not get that out?
He's watching like 200 feet to the catcher, and eyesight, and maybe he's
127 feet.
I think it's the preciseness of the technology, and the fact this is what we said. Because originally I was like, well, I feel bad for the players. I'm like, oh, wait, no, they're all co-conspirators.
Right. Well,
every single person from the lowliest player to the very owner of the Astros is complicit in this conspiracy. Right. So it has to be a punishment that catches all. Right. Because, again, if you charge them $100 million, then you're just asking teams, well, we'll pay $100 million in players to win right at the trade deadline. What's the difference adding another $100 million?
Yeah, what's
so
the
you
point?
have to make this so insanely prohibitive.
Right.
That that's what I was saying. What's the other punishment? They're like, oh, now you're the Wyoming Astros.
Right.
Like, you have to go where
I love that, yeah.
There are no play people.
the Cheyenne Astros, baby.
And your stadium can never have electricity again.
But that gamesmanship, it's like imagine a basketball game where you call a timeout, both teams go to their huddle. Like, if you can hear them and you can hear their play, cool. Yeah. Then you kind of know what's coming. But you can't, like, throw a camera in the middle of their fucking huddle and be like, that's kind of like
You're
the
on
parallel.
Hulu watching the clipboard.
Yeah, that's the parallel. It's like there's a line between gamesmanship and just flat out cheating.
Well, this will be some people's thing. It'll be the Barry Bonds defenses. I know he cheated, but he still had to swing the bat, and he still did it better than others.
Sure.
Again, I don't think that's a very strong defense here, because we're not talking about that's one guy versus, a whole league. This is an entire team and organization.
Yeah.
And again, if they had not made the playoffs, then you're just like, oh, look at them trying. That's cool.
But
this is talking about tainting the World Series.
And you have an MVP winner on that team.
Yep.
Altuve, you've got it's
who, by the way, who would benefit more from knowing when off speed's coming than the guy whose strike zone is 6 inches by 6 inches?
Listen, if you know when off speed's coming, if you can sit dead red on an off speed or a fastball, that's an extremely huge advantage. Because that's not a little thing.
When you don't hear the bang, you also know the pitch.
You know a fastball's coming, and you can sit dead red on that. Or if you're down 0-2 and you're like, okay, a slider's coming, you know what I mean? Like, that's a huge advantage. That's
enormous.
That's not a little thing.
No.
And that's why this is such a big deal, and I think that's why the MLB is taking this stance. But then, it's like you said, so if they blackball them or if they drop the hammer, then you run the risk. The MLB's got to walk this fine line of, do we alienate more fans? Because then we lose like the Houston,
the entire.
It's a big market. I mean,
it's like a
fourth or fifth biggest market in the country.
Yeah.
So it's they're caught between a rock and a hard place.
And also,
as well.
The Astros are kind of the baseball darling, right? Built it from the farm system up.
Yeah.
Kind of an advanced metrics team. Mm-hmm. Which. Who knew the team that was super into advanced metrics might be tempted to keep going further and further on the cutting edge of cheating?
Yeah.
It's because this is. I mean, if it were me, like let's do this game. If you were the commissioner, what is your actual punishment?
I've been tossing this around.
You know what I do?
You can fine them, but that's not going to do
50 games.
Yeah.
You can. Your entire organization loses the first 50 games of the season.
Yeah.
You're out.
You can play with your minor.
No players make
play with the
money.
minor leaguers or whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah.
No one. You guys can practice every day. You can have your team. No one fucking plays.
Can you imagine that?
And when you start on day 51, your record is 0-50. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if you win out,
well, you got to let them play. They just got to
fine.
play with their farm system or whatever.
No, I'd say you're done. Like, you can't make any money in Houston.
But then the MLB loses
games.
way too much money because then they lose.
Yeah.
You know what?
But this is
that's
one
why
of those,
I'm not saying
MLB,
you're wrong. I'm saying the MLB won't do that because they're going to protect their bottom line.
I would absolutely
one way or
imagine
the other.
That's way harsher than the punishment. But the MLB is also going to have to take some flack for this.
Yeah.
Because there have been hints. People have been saying this for a long time.
They were talking about it while this
happening.
World Series was going on in 2017. Like, this isn't a new... This didn't just come up like, you guys might have been cheating. Like, no, you fucking knew.
Yeah.
Well, it just got to a serious level.
And I kind of like the poetic irony of this story, which is baseball could face maybe its biggest black eye in 100 years because of the technologies they refuse to embrace.
Yeah.
Right? If you just went to robotic umpires and this and that, you start cutting out more and more of these nibbling around the edge kind of things. I don't know. Maybe that's just me trying to link two things that don't matter. But it has to be severe. And MLB will have to suffer along with the Astros. Well, it's the same thing because I was watching this documentary, Dahmer on Dahmer, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, this lady's like, I interviewed Jeffrey Dahmer. He was crazy. And his dad's like, I'll do it, but I want to wear sunglasses so no one knows me. And I was like, actually, it worked. He just blends in with every old white. But there's a part of it where it's so sad watching the Dahmer parents because they're just like, the mommy was like, that's not the guy that I'll remember in my grave, right? That's not my son. Okay, well, you can say whatever the fuck you want. And you had a perfect childhood life and whatever.
Yeah.
Also, he was just alone as like a 14-year-old hammering 30 beers before high school. So there is a part of this.
Sounds awesome.
Right? Yeah. Like, I'm not saying you were chewing on the corpses. Right? But you are also responsible for this.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm fascinated because if it comes down and it's just a money fine, I still think it'll be worth the Astros for 2 World Series worth of money.
Yeah.
You're
not hurting them at that point if you just fine them.
How do you put the fucking massive hurt on them without hurting the game overall?
Right.
But
that's what the MLB's got to figure out.
Yeah, and if you do nothing and you set the precedent that you can just cheat as long as you make enough money by appearing in the World Series.
Right.
That not only is going to set the precedent of then everyone has to be cheating.
Right.
If your team's not doing that from now on, you're like, well, you guys don't want to win. You're not serious.
It's part of the game now. Yeah.
Every fan watching will know that every contest from here on out is just kind of nonsense. It's not a legit game.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the thing. I don't equate it, because I know there's one of you out there that's like, but Griffey, you're pro steroids. Yes, because that's just a guy's that's his physical tool in baseball, right?
Yeah.
This is different than that to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the another interesting aspect of so I mean the Astros are they're fucked, because I saw a video and you can hear the bangs on the trash.
Oh
can.
yeah.
And it's every time there's an off speed pitch. It's not sometimes. It's not it's every time when they're at home.
Yeah.
And their dumbasses put it in writing in emails that they sent back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Thing about this. Wonder if there's going to be any lawsuits that come about for people that gambled on those games.
Holy shit.
Because that essentially becomes somewhat of a fixed game. You know, if they're taking the other side of the Astros and, you know, the Astros win 8-5 and they lose their bet or whatever, and then they look back, well, they fucking cheated that whole game.
Holy shit.
You know
All
what I mean?
All they have to do is find
so
one bang on that
the scope
video.
of this is fucking enormous.
Wow.
Like fucking enormous. And Vegas may have something to say about that. The sports books may have something to say, because they,
especially where
believe it or
gambling
not,
is legalized.
They don't like cheating. The books,
Yeah,
they don't. They
it
don't
would make sense.
Like the Donahues, the Tim Donahues. Like when that guy got caught, you know, fixing it. Like Vegas was the one that outed him. They blew the whistle on him.
Yeah.
The sports books. It wasn't somebody else, because that's bad for them, because then they lose more money. And if you fuck with
like
the
you
sports
said,
books
too.
money, because that's $1 billion industry.
Yeah. Well,
they're not going to sit back and take it.
Imagine if for 3 seasons, every single person that lost a bet can come at you.
Potentially,
even if you settle every
that's
single
why
one
I
of
don't
those
know what the
cases.
legal ramifications of this is. I think it's gonna depend on
that
what the
becomes-
wording of the rules are and the sport, and it's gonna like the burden of proof is gonna lie in there somewhere for that. But the scope of it is fucking outrageous.
Yeah.
How big it is.
Unless you live in the White House, when you put something in writing, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Like it
Oh,
doesn't
they totally should have Hillaried those emails.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
No.
Absolutely.
They should have run the Clinton-Trump playbook, which is just, what? No, what? Servers,
Yeah, or
what?
just kill everybody.
Yeah. I mean, Don Jr. is just like, yeah, I wrote it, but come on.
You
Come on.
idiots.
No one, in politics you can do this.
Yeah.
In this, though,
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking a massive class action lawsuit where all anyone has to hear is one bang.
Yeah.
And then, because, I mean, I don't know what the actual legality is, but I'm assuming it would be exculpatory to just say, hey, there's a bang. I assume this is not a fair contest anymore. That has to invalidate a bet.
Yeah. But that,
wow, that's huge. I never thought about the gambling angle.
It blows me away, though, this day and age, and how many times throughout history it's happened, and people in these high positions still put shit in writing.
Yeah.
When they're doing stuff like this. Like, how do you not know not to do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This,
like,
again, not to get too political, but
and these executives are making $1 million a year, and you can't.
Way more than that.
Yeah, you know. But I'm just saying, like, as a base.
Yeah.
And you're not smart enough to fucking.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't write this down. You know, like.
Well, yeah. I mean, imagine where we would be in our political life nowadays if Donald Trump knew how to use email.
Right.
Like, it's the only time that his insane stupidity and lack of,
it blows my mind how many people get brought down because they wrote it down and sent it to people. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You fucking idiot.
No, it's the one time that his childish behavior is going to save his ass, because there's nothing, because he can always just be like, nope, not true. You got no proof. If you have an email.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Astros slip out of this, man.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to.
Well, now you're sending me on this rabbit hole of gamblers.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, that's
what about other teams?
Yeah, exactly.
What if the Cardinals are like, hey, you know what? We think someone we were playing did this. So now we're going to have to scour every team and every
so if they don't
footage.
take that World Series away from them, then who was it they beat?
But even if they take
2 years ago, I can't remember now, but the Dodgers. That's
or
right.
No, the Red Sox beat the Dodgers.
It was the Astros beat the Dodgers too. But okay, so if they don't take that World Series away from them, then the Dodgers can come back and say, well, that should be they cheated up. You know what I mean? So then it's going to come from another side.
I mean, that's also the Reggie Bush thing too, right? If all you do is take a World Series trophy, Reggie Bush like, keep my fucking Heisman.
This is exactly
I'm fucking Kim Kardashian. I'm in the NFL. I don't give a fuck.
This is exactly what the MLB did not need at this time. Like,
well, in a weird way, it's probably the most anyone's talked about the MLB,
and it's not going to be cleared up in a week.
No.
This is going to take a while. because there's so many different angles. You know what I mean?
You never gave me, though.
There's so many hands in the pot.
Press it. Actual punishment, right?
Right.
I don't think my first 50 games off will happen.
I could see him suspending the players for 50 games.
Every play, but then what do you do for the coaches, the GM?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you find the organization to be like, hey, whatever you made in those 2 World Series, you have to give all that back. We want receipts.
Yeah.
Are we talking like $1 billion? $2 billion?
But like I said, then
and that doesn't clear up lawsuit problems.
But then the Dodgers, who could have profited from winning that World Series, maybe even both of them, then they have a case to say, well, okay, they gave their money back, but we could have made money. You know what I mean?
A lot of fucking money.
So,
and then the players can sue because they're like, hey, if I had won,
right,
World
I
Series MVP,
get a bonus. Yeah, I get a 500. You know what I mean? Like the range and the scope of this is it's incredible.
Okay, so knowing that this and the scope's even bigger now that we've talked about it than I even first thought. I mean, is it feasible to tell a team you're just gone for a season?
I don't know.
Is it possible?
I don't know the logistics of that. I mean, it is possible. They can do it. But
what
does that look like?
Responsible for all the money.
Yeah.
Right? Teams will just get extra time off when their Astros series comes.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And that's the thing that we were talking about in the car is like you can't single out one player over the other because they're all a part of it. So if you come down on the players, then it's all or nothing. You have to come down on all of them.
Yeah.
You can't just say you,
and
and
the
you.
Coaches and the organization.
So it's all or nothing. It's not you can't nitpick and you can't. It's either all or nothing. Yep.
I actually liked your point in the car is that anyone who had this insane advantage and wasn't batting 300, you're excommunicated Pete Rose style from the MLB.
How did anybody bat 220 for the Astros?
Yeah, it's like, sorry. You can go hang out with Pete Rose. You're blacklisted. That's just sad.
Okay. We got another lawsuit to talk about.
Jesus Christ.
We're probably going to lose some of you here. For anger. Some of you here. You probably heard of him before. Colin Kaepernick.
Kaepernick? Am I saying this right? Kaepernick.
Boy, we had a doozy of a weekend with that whole thing.
Yeah.
So the NFL announces, what was it, last week? A few days before, they're going to hold a tryout for Kaepernick.
Yeah.
An open tryout, and it's Falcons.
Open.
Yeah.
In air quotes.
25 NFL execs agreed to go at the Falcons practice facilities or whatever. A couple hours before the session's supposed to start, Kaepernick's camp changes the venue to a high school 60 minutes away. Mm-hmm. So from there, of the 25 execs that showed up, I think it was 8 or 9.
Yeah, something like between 7 and 11, something like that.
Yeah, drove down the road to watch this thing.
Right.
Kaepernick gives this big speech beforehand, pointing fingers right at the NFL, right at Goodell. You know, if you want to do the right thing,
don't be scared.
Here's your chance to do the right thing. Yeah, don't be scared, blah, blah, blah. So then, this backlash.
Well, you knew.
And then Stephen A. pipes up.
Stephen A. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen A. on Twitter. And this gets into, and the Myles Garrett has some of this too, where there's a lot of kind of race stuff that I don't feel we're necessarily qualified. That's like one of the Myles Garrett's thing is like, oh, well, if this was a white lineman hitting Lamar Jackson, it's like, hey man, I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
I know a criminal act when I see one.
Right.
This has a lot of that too. So let's assume that, okay, we're not experts on that. Here are some facts that I know, right?
Right.
Is one, anytime I'm thinking about something and forming an opinion, if I see that Stephen A. Smith agrees with me,
right,
the first thing I do is rethink my opinion and go the other direction, right? Stephen A. Smith is one of the biggest, brightest billboards on the road to dipshitville.
Well, I fell into that trap. Because,
I know. Well, we talked about it.
Yeah. Well, on the surface, so here's the knee-jerk reaction that's going around. Because on the surface, this is what it looks like. It does. Kaepernick goes there, bails, goes to another place because he wants to Facebook Live it or whatever, YouTube Live it, and he wants to control the narrative, and he's just trying to be a martyr. He doesn't really want to play. It's all for show.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like on the surface.
Right.
And the NFL, obviously played that up like, well, we had it set up for him,
Sure.
Well, you had it set up, first of all, you had it set up on a Saturday when all of the actual NFL scouts are at college football games.
Right.
They can't take that Saturday off.
Right.
So all of your actual talent evaluators are busy.
And all the coaches on the teams are actually preparing for the game the next day or two.
Yeah.
Also, they had all kinds of weird rules about controlling the footage from the practice.
Yep.
Here's the bigger question, right? Before you start thinking too deep, because this was Stephen A's, and this to me is the dumb guy take, is that Kaepernick wants to be a martyr.
Right.
Well, I mean, he already was.
I started to take that bait. I'm not going to lie.
He's already been a martyr, right? Like, that's, whatever you say, he lost 3 to 4 years in the prime of his life because of a stance that he took, right? And then
a social
stance that he took, right, on a political issue that blew up and became about something not even what he's talking about, right? Became more about the flag and patriotism, whatever. So he's already a martyr.
Right.
Like, if he came back tomorrow, he will still be remembered in history as the guy who took a stand and the NFL fucked him.
Yep.
Right? Because whatever you say, and this is the weird thing that the people who most say, like, oh, love America, this and that, I mean, it's his freedom of speech. And then should the players take freedom of speech? It became this really big hot button issue. Right. And I think what got lost in that is that, again, imagine if that were Tom Brady doing it. He would still have stayed in the league. Yeah. Right? Race aside, he's a good quarterback. Right. Kaepernick was kind of a hit or miss quarterback.
He was good, though. Cap was good.
Hey, let me tell you this.
Cap's better than Mason Rudolph, I'll tell you that.
The fact that Mason Rudolph is throwing for us.
Yeah, has a job.
Like, if the Steelers don't sign Kaepernick tomorrow, it's only because it's a business decision.
I'm a Colts fan where we ran out Brian Hoyer last week.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? Like,
he's better.
Hoyer's fucking terrible.
You saw the workout footage. He can still fucking sling it.
He's got
right?
He's
and
got juice.
He's not your guy. He's not your future franchise. But the fact that Hoyer, Fitzmagic,
right?
You know, I mean, even old-ass Joe Flacco sucks at this. There are just guys in the league that aren't good.
Right.
And that's just starting quarterbacks. If you're looking at backup quarterbacks, you cannot tell me that there are 30-some backup quarterbacks that are better than Colin Kaepernick. Right. When the call comes, that they will be more likely to get you a win than Colin Kaepernick. Right. And everyone's known this for years, right? But this gets to my bigger point. This is what I was trying to say, right? Because everyone has really heated emotions about this, except for me. I just don't care. Right. I think he's right to say whatever he wants and take his opinions.
Agreed.
And he shouldn't lose his job for that.
I agree.
Right? Whether you agree with him or not, say whatever the fuck you want. That's my stance on almost everything. Here's the question you have to ask. Why did the NFL do this to themselves when the guy was already gone, the story was done? Right. That's how you know that Stephen A. Smith is a low-information dipshit because it doesn't make sense.
Right. The NFL did not set this up out of the goodness of their hearts.
No, this was not hey,
this wasn't the NFL was like, you know what? Let's give this guy a we're feeling charitable today. Let's do this with no other motivations behind us than we just want to help this guy out. That's not. And if you believe that, you're you're asleep.
Some NFL execs like, you know what? I think all those people that said they'll boycott and are mad about the flag, they moved now. They're cool.
At the very least, it's a PR stunt. At the very least, at the bare minimum, it's a PR stunt. Yeah. It happens to go deeper than that, but at the very least, it's a PR stunt. Yeah. You know, which is whatever. I get it. The NFL just really wants to make themselves look good. Like they had a commercial yesterday during the football game, and it was like talking about player safety, and they're like, we're working to make the helmets safer. Follow our progress at NFL.com.
These helmets are made so that if you get hit in the face with them,
they won't. I bet you're going to report your progress accurately and fairly. You're going to be like, you know what? We still suck at this. No, every day you're going to be like, look at this. We're better. Like, I'd rather watch a third party. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It would have been great if Mason Rudolph's face exploded in half, and then they're like, cut to commercial. And that was the commercial. Yeah.
But here's the thing, and this is the Pro Football Talk article that you sent me. But basically, there's an underlying. So Kaepernick sued the NFL a couple years ago, for collusion, essentially, for being cheated out of a fair opportunity for a job. He won it. He didn't win it. They settled out of court. The NFL decided.
Because the NFL's lawyers decided, one, this will be expensive, and two, there's just game footage of Brian Hoyer. And it's like, this is going to be hard to escape.
And there's less egg on their face if they just cut him a check and push it to the side.
Right. He was gone. This is the thing. He's gone. Right. He's doing Nike commercials and whatever, but he's not at an NFL game. He's gone.
The thing of it is, they tried to get him to sign some waivers basically absolving the NFL of any further wrongdoing against him.
Which was an integral part of their open workout. Right. He had to sign all these legal rights away for the next lawsuit.
Basically, if he walks into the Falcons camp and he wants to do it there, he has to sign this waiver that absolves NFL of any further wrongdoing, anything else. He has to sign his life away. And once he does that, once he puts it on paper, they can just walk. They can take all the coaches and walk out and be like, "You'll never work in this league again." I don't care.
By
how,
the way, if you
how
think
good
they
you are.
weren't going to do that,
right, right.
Because
So
this is the Schefter thing. He was like, his theory was all week. He was like, "Dude, this is not happening." Like everyone's like, "It has to happen."
Yeah.
The NFL wouldn't have had a workout if they didn't have teams that wanted to do it. The NFL's giving these teams cover.
Yeah.
Because if a bunch of execs come and you're the one who signs them, you don't have to take as much wrath from your fan base. Immediately, if you just break that down on its face, that's all nonsense. Because you could have had a workout with them as the team whenever you wanted, closed to the media, whatever.
Right.
So it just never added up. And then as you start reading on these legal issues and this crazy NFL lawyer behind the scenes, this co-conspirator from Deflategate, and he's like, "Oh, I'll outsmart everyone with my PR stunt." And it's just the only guy he outsmarted was Stephen A. Smith.
Well, yeah, and so Cap shifted gears. He moves it to a neutral location where he's in charge of it. He doesn't
Still does the workout.
Doesn't have to sign it, and if anybody wants to come, they can come.
Yeah.
But he's gonna stream it live anyway, so you can still see his workout.
Saw the video.
And all that. So essentially what he did there was he won. He won. And now he's got copies of all those legal documents. Mm-hmm. And so now he's got another collusion case against the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
So if somebody doesn't sign him, like, he's going to win another case.
Well, the NFL...
And the NFL is going to look real bad.
The NFL reopened... Because this case was coming no matter what, it sounds like.
Yep.
The NFL could have just resettled with him again. The NFL is a money machine. Yeah. They could have just resettled and he could have stayed away.
$60 billion fucking industry or whatever it is.
But by playing this stunt, right, they thought that the people who were mad at Kaepernick, right,
yeah.
and their fucking herald, Stephen A. Smith,
right,
they're going to knee-jerk react and be mad about this already. So the NFL is like, cool, we'll have cover to make us look better. They'll already be mad.
Yeah.
And they knew Kaepernick wasn't going to do this.
Yeah.
They had to know. But what they didn't count on is that, again, that's the other thing I hate is they're like, Kaepernick wants to be a martyr, control his own narrative. Why the fuck would Colin Kaepernick not trust the NFL to be on the up and up with him?
Yeah, and
because, again, if you disagree with him all day and think he shouldn't be in the league, that's fine.
That's fine.
On just football merits, you cannot make a case that he shouldn't have been on an NFL team by talent, right? So
by talent, yeah.
And this is the thing. By controlling his own narrative, like you said, he's got receipts.
Yep.
And now it's to the point, if a team does not sign him now, they're fucked.
Yeah.
Like they were already probably fucked, but someone has to
He's
offer
got an
him.
enormous case against the NFL now.
Someone
because
needs
of that.
to offer him.
Yeah.
And this will be the funny subtext. If someone offers him and they're like, we'll give you veterans minimum. And he's like, well, but this other backup's making $5 million. They're like, no.
Right.
That could be another case.
Well,
you know
maybe,
I mean?
but if they tender him a contract though, then they might. It depends. I guess I don't know. I'm not a fucking lawyer. So
but what I'm saying, no.
But you're right. He may have a case there either way.
But all I know is that they've set this up to be the most arduous path. For them to make him disappear. That could have existed. Well, he was already gone.
It's like you said. You said it best. Yet when you said the NFL miscalculated.
Absolutely.
When because they did that article. I think the headline was NFL tries to put Kaepernick in checkmate.
Yeah.
And they made the wrong move.
Yeah. They fucked up.
Yeah. It's
only
fucking interesting.
Stephen A. Smith, because again, he went on this fucking tirade, right? Again, there was a little bit of some African American community disputes and things that I would never dare say on the internet.
Yeah.
But he walked right up to the line of calling Stephen A. Smith something that no African American man ever wants to be referred to.
Yeah.
And Stephen A. Smith went on like a 20 to 30 tweet, it felt like, tirade.
He's an
trying
idiot.
to defend his position. And the thing that is baffling to me is that he is the biggest personality at ESPN because these are sad times.
Yeah.
Like, there's no justifiable
reason. They just paid him a
reason
fat salary
that he
to
exists,
just be a bumbling fucking idiot. Yeah.
And I mean, I guess that's why is because he's just like, yeah, I'll run into the fucking Kaepernick buzzsaw. He has to have access to this information.
Yeah.
How do me and you know about this lawsuit?
Right.
And he doesn't. He's just taking a stance because he wants the people that hate Kaepernick or big block.
Yeah, the only person
they're the ones that watch daytime TV.
The only person I've heard even report it so far was Lebitard this morning on the radio.
Yeah,
and he usually gets out in front of these like he's an actual good reporter.
Yeah,
so
it
doesn't surprise me.
And writer.
But yeah, it's crazy to me though. Like you said, it's like why would the NFL think that that's the solution?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like he's already beaten them once in a legal battle.
Yeah,
and do you think he wasn't going to be prepared?
Yeah.
Do they really think he was just going to walk in and sign his fucking all of his rights in life away? It's an idiotic notion,
right?
To
but
me,
what this is that I actually think is fascinating is this is a perfect example of someone miscalculating the kind of social media news atmosphere, where they're like, we'll immediately just get this narrative from crazy Kaepernick hating crowd. Which, again, that's a lot of people.
Right.
And I totally understand that people are mad about kneeling.
Entitled
to
your opinion on
it. Sure.
Yep.
That's fine. That's a big-ass group of people.
Yep.
But they're like, that will be such a fucking thing on Twitter.
I agree.
That Kaepernick will get fucking, by the weight of this anger, he'll be forced to submit to us. It's like, guys, you already fucking have taken this guy to the deep end for years.
Yep.
And I can't fathom, and it's one of those things that gets back to everyone's like, the NFL's this giant corporate genius entity. It's just insanely stupid.
That's the thing, though.
It's the dumbest.
You and I talked about it.
Could ever do.
The NFL doesn't have a history of getting out in front of things. They have they're a reactionary enterprise. They throw shit out there,
right?
And when it doesn't work, they just assume they have enough money to make it go away, or to control it and spin it the way they need it to go.
Yeah,
they don't plan it out. They just let's do this and see what happens. You know, and it's just not a really good corporate strategy.
No,
especially when it comes to stuff like this.
I mean, it's just the whole, like, there's just a pile of knocked out girlfriends, kids with their arms snapped, and they're like, but can he get me 70 yards? So the NFL is garbage on these issues.
Yeah.
But in the NFL's defense, I understand if they've run the calculations.
Yeah.
And they say Kaepernick is bad for business. And at the end of the day, the football's not about having the best team. It is a business. So I totally understand.
Yeah, they've got to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I do think there was a collusion against him, and I think it's fine. I think it's actually fine because he got his lawsuit, right?
The NFL all but admitted that there was when they settled with him.
The fact that I watched Brian Hoyer on TV says that it's obvious. And the fact that I've watched Mason Rudolph throw 4 picks to the Browns, like, I know it's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
But they made a business decision. That's fine.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind changing the entire strategy away from let's just keep colluding and keep them away because it's bad for business,
right,
to now we're going to open this thing and people aren't going to figure it out,
right, well,
it's just baffling to me.
Essentially, so that anti-kneeling crowd, and if you're on that side, like, that's your opinion, I get it, but that's a big market.
Big market.
And so the NFL took the stance of, okay, we'll take our chances in court with Kaepernick so as not to alienate that corner of our market.
Right.
That was the decision they made.
This is my second favorite what-if of the day. I have a contention that the people that were that fucking mad about Kaepernick are also the kind of people that could not form a human identity and life without the NFL. If you are telling me that those people that are so riled up that paint their fucking fat man tits with letters and stand in the freezing cold to cheer a football team are not going to watch that football team anymore because of their political hatred of Colin Kaepernick.
But that was a risk that the NFL was not willing to take.
That's my what if.
They were willing to take the risk on the other side of that fence versus that risk.
Yeah. I remember hearing that there was some ratings drops. And I was like, dude, that's a drop in. I don't think that would have held long term.
No, I don't think so either. Issue, like
Rick, who used to play O-line in high school, but now he like tailgates every week, is going to stay away because. And this gets back. We talked about it's kind of the Howard Stern thing, right? I think there was a market to be had in Kaepernick there.
Yeah,
because that's all anyone talked about when that happened, right? The NFL was red hot. And I think people would have come to the stadium just to boo his ass.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's my what if. I would have loved to have seen how many of these former high school armchair quarterbacks really were willing to give up we had someone comment on our video. They're like, we're never watching baseball again because the Astros booed or the Nationals booed Trump. I'm like, you fucking liar.
You
liar. I'm like, that'll work for like a week.
Tuned in the next day.
I was like, so you, the Nationals fan, weren't watching Game 7 because of a politics? Rip.
Nothing to do with
the
game.
Get the fuck out of here. They all would have been. The NFL, you should have done what all corporations do. You just keep paying people to shut up.
You got the money. You got the money.
Yeah. And again, guys, this is a good lesson to you. If you find yourself agreeing with Stephen A. Smith, it's time to think long and hard.
We got to get out of here. Nick Saban's an idiot. He ruined Tua's fucking career with a stupid decision, but we got to get. We don't have time for it.
Speaking of conspiracies, Nick Saban, just fake a human emotion that you're sad he got hurt. Just one.
Yep. We will. We may be back this week if the MLB makes a strong decision. We don't know. We'll do an emergency pod. We're going to try to live stream, I think, on Thursday this week.
Thursday, hopefully.
We'll pick a theme for it. We'll let you guys know. Thanks for listening. Go on to Apple Podcasts, rate and review. CoachKentMurphy.com for all your gear. At Coach Kent Murphy on all the socials. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.